What are we
All
doing?
right, we're talking about anal prolapses.
Oh, dude. Okay.
Oh no.
All right,
Okay,
guys. Okay,
so
pause the laughter for about 15 minutes, okay? Because
so
this is just dark. Okay.
for those of you who don't know, Ollie Alexander, he was an intern for Karl Rove. He is a convicted fraudster. He's done credit card fraud and I think other financial crimes. He has a lot of influence though within the Beltway. And, the rumors, which let's be real, aren't rumors, they're reality, is that, he's a gay pool boy that goes around sucking off other conservative homosexuals for clout. And he also uses his position and his connections and his influence to groom young boys. And it was an open secret for years. Nick Fuentes knew for years that Ali was this way. But Nick Fuentes brought Ali into the fold. He worked with him during Stop the Steal. He brought the chicken into the hen house, and groypers such as Smiley and Lance Videos suffered and were groomed at the hands of Ollie Alexander. Other victims have come forward as well, stating this. Nick has truly never really disavowed Ali. The AF Post account, from what I understand, is still run by Ollie Alexander, which is one of the major Groyper Twitter accounts that they all retweet and
Really?
like and follow. It was at least run by Ali back in the day, and I'm pretty sure it's
Whoa.
still run by him now. So Fuentes, he covered this shit up. He tried to blame the victim in Smiley. He ordered Ralph to smear Smiley, who was a victim of Ali, and they still work with Ali to this day.
Yeah.
They put him in charge of students for Yay.
Oh, and by the way, folks, if you're watching on the Clip channel or here, we have multiple videos. You can search Kino Casino clips, Ali Alexander. You'll find there's like 3 or 4 big ones that explain everything in detail. But yeah, Ashton summed it up very nicely.
Yeah, that's pretty much all that you need to know. So now
this headline is insane. Like, watch, like, folks, ready?
this is an article
Strap
written
in.
by Milo Yiannopoulos, which it's like, holy.
Whoa.
But it's, what does Nick Fuentes know about this Michigan man's anal prolapse problem?
I'm laughing because it's fun.
It's quite out there, isn't it? As a headline, it just kind of makes me laugh. If it wasn't so sad, you know.
I'm laughing at him like, holy shit, I swear. This is fucked.
Oh, it's today I will be sharing some documents. The first is a legal demand letter sent on behalf of a boy that Ollie Alexander raped so violently in 2016 that he still has medical issues today. Joe, at the time of his grooming and subsequent repeated rapes, can't visit the bathroom 8 years later without running the risk of, and this is the first time I've ever typed this expression outside of a mean-spirited joke, anal prolapse.
Jesus!
It's about as grim as it could possibly be.
Like,
just grimy. And Nick still runs cover for this guy.
We
The
lock
Groypers
him
still
up?
run cover for him. Well, that's hopefully what ends up happening. So this letter is to Ali. It says, Dear Mr. Alexander, we represent Joe and his claims against you, Vice and Victory Ventures, LLC, and all of your related entities. You cultivated a relationship with Joe based on promises of professional assistance, which you then used to, you exploited to abuse Joe physically, emotionally, and sexually. We outline claims below, but do not warrant to provide an exhaustive account of his allegations or claims. You first met Joe in July 2016 when you approached him at a Republican National Convention after party. Joe at the time was a recent high school graduate and curious in pursuing a career in politics, had volunteered at the after party in the hopes of networking with prominent Republican speakers. Following your introduction to him, you contacted him the next day and offered him an internship position. You told him the internship would be in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and that payment as well as room and board would be taken care of once he arrived. On August 16th, you flew Joe to Louisiana from his home state of Michigan. Upon arrival, he found out he was expected to stay in your home rather than in a hotel or separate residence.
Oh, sorry, I have to interrupt. No, for anyone who's wondering, no, this is not Ali Jamal, the special needs guy that we cover on the show.
This is Ollie Alexander, the piranha-faced pedophile.
Yeah, just because a few people in chat were like, that guy? No. Okay, just double-checking. Okay,
so he was expected to stay in your home rather than a hotel or separate residence. Throughout his internship with you, Joe did not have a driver's license or financial independence, meaning he was forced to be with you every hour of every day. Shortly after the onset of the internship, you made your first sexual overtures towards him. You began to touch and kiss Joe, who repeatedly denied your pursuits, informing you he was not gay and was not interested in a sexual relationship with you.
This is gross.
Undeterred, you gave drugs and alcohol to Joe and forced Joe to perform oral sex onto you.
No! Jesus!
Joe believed that if he protested any of this treatment, he would be seen as unprofessional and barred from future professional opportunities. He was also concerned he would become a victim of your angry outbursts if he did not acquiesce to your sexual demands. His role as intern ultimately transformed into your personal assistant.
Oh my God.
As you were very adamant that Joe always accompany you. He was very rarely allowed to be away from you. In October, you traveled to New York City with Joe, and you paid for Joe to accompany you to New York City as part of his duties as your employee. You stayed with him, and you attempted to force Joe to perform sexual acts. While staying with him, you gave him drugs and alcohol, and you beat Joe with a belt.
What the fuck?
In or around November of 2016, you forced Joe to insert an anal plug into his rectum.
No!
Joe repeatedly expressed that this device caused him excruciating pain, yet you made him wear it repeatedly for a prolonged period of time. You also began to express to Joe that you wished to perform anal sex on him. Despite his protests, you gave him a sufficient amount of alcohol to make sure he was intoxicated, and then you raped him. It took Joe years to understand the extent of your abuse. His potential career in politics was made impossible due to the physical and emotional trauma caused by you.
Bury him. Bury him.
The physical injuries suffered continue to impact him to this day and have resulted in continued medical expenses. Medical expenses you may remember for which you offered to pay.
Whoa!
So it's almost like if he's admitted to pay, like offered to pay for that, it's kind of an admission of wrongdoing.
Yeah.
It says here he violated the Trafficking Victims Protection Act. You employed fraud to bring Joe to Louisiana, New York, Texas, and Washington in violation of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act. You promised work opportunities that never materialized. Joe reasonably relied upon your promises of work due to your connections in the political space. See David V. Weinstein Company. You used fraudulent offers of your career and networking opportunities to convince Joe to travel to Louisiana, whereupon you made threats of force and performed violent sexual acts to which he did not consent.
Oh my gosh.
Because you assigned Joe tasks to complete at the beginning of his internship that he believed to be legitimate, his reliance on future projects was reliable. And it says here, you used drugs, alcohol, threats of force to coerce sexual acts. You raped Joe in Louisiana around November of 2016. Joe was well aware of the violence you could dole out if he fought back, having heard stories from you of your violent outbursts. You supplied drugs and alcohol to decrease his ability to refuse you. You committed sexual acts when he was unconscious or otherwise unable to consent. You committed sexual battery when you forced him to insert a butt plug into his rectum in Louisiana. Okay, so this is basically it.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Jesus. That's fucked. That is actually, I didn't read this. I just read the headline. That's really disturbing, dude.
There's a lot more details to it. There was another dump of stuff from Milo. We might do that next time, but
yeah,
I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time on this because
No.
it's just really disgusting. But Ali is still free. And, you know, he still enjoys backing from the Groypers. Nick never really truly threw him out. He runs that AF Post Twitter account for them. And it's just disgusting. And hopefully he is brought to justice soon. It's been over a year that we've been beating the war drums and trying to alert everybody to the situation. Jaden's been trying to alert people to the situation. And yet no mainstream media outlet will really pick it up. The Daily Dot did a slight expose on it. Like, they did one article about it. But, you know, New York Times, Washington Post, like NBC, CNN, none of them touch that stuff. But they run articles about Fuentes all the time, just with the sort of stuff that they want to paint him as a Nazi or whatever. But all this pedophilia stuff that he swept under the rug, they seem uninterested in burying him for, which, you know, I find
rape.
I find it very, very interesting. Yeah, I think so, Canadian Patriot. Milo, I don't think's lying about this. He's a snake telling the truth. But I do find some of Milo's methods when it comes to exposing Ali to be very self-serving. And I don't really think he's so much concerned with bringing Ali to justice or exposing the Groypers as so much as he is settling his own petty personal scores. And that's really what it's about, is Milo, you know, trying to wield as much leverage as he can on this to get Nick or others like Ali to do what he wants. And I don't really know how committed he is to actually getting him locked up in prison. That's just my view of it. And I think that's correct.
What a topic. Oh, my God.